nursery rhymes. So we like to deal with the real. You know what I mean?
At first, the city was like zero tolerance. Right. Zero tolerance, right? Arrest them, find them, hunt them down. There was graffiti crime units that were arresting people in their house and taking everything, including the door, anything with graffiti on it. They come on in, they take your computers, take everything in your room. It would all become evidence, property, and capital. And to acquire these things puts you into a segment of the society that's a bit higher up and has more chances, more life chances as a result of you having this capital and this property. So we all strive for it. And there's this, I think that there's this underlying, not just logic, but worship, you know, of property and the white picket fence and to get this kind of thing, so that when we hear about this worshipped and this sacred, you know, property object being defiled, it bothers everybody on a fundamental level. Our city is branded as a cultural art city, right? People come from all over, not just for our foods, but our culture, our music, the languages, the art, right? And now graffiti and street art, moving more into mural art, are being brought into this fold of this cultural branding for the city. Mural Fest, 2 years old. That's an officially recognized super international mural fest that takes place at the same time as a street fest on Saint Laurent. There's a connect there for business, cultural tourism, and everything. Right. Under Pressure's been running for 20 years, and they're not recognized as an official festival. So that tells you something with regards to the divide between graffiti being used as a marketable, as an object of marketing for the city versus street art and mural art. Right. Arts and culture brands the city, brings tourism dollars in, raises property values and the value of our city and what we can do and where we can bring more corporate money into maybe. They'll release stuff like $3.5 million was spent on buffing last year. We had and I don't know, 20 football fields worth of wall space. And you gotta ask, like on a wall like this, right, or a wall like behind me, if there's some tags on the wall and you have a graffiti removal company that comes and removes the tags on the wall, do they say that they've removed tags on the wall space this entire wall, or just the small 4-foot area that they had to clean? And how do they then put that into their books on how much it costs them, on how much money they need to continue their programs versus blah, 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 whatever it is. Right. But where are they cleaning, right? They're not really cleaning all the streets. I mean, like I said, I walk by and I see stuff that's painted all the time. And that's stuff that's been there for years. Right. Whether it be on rooftops, alleyways, doorways, mailboxes. Yeah, it's around the 1980s. There's only a handful of writers, only a few. I can't even think of any major names. I can tell you one major name that came in as a huge influence that came into the city from France was a guy named Psych. He came on in, he changed the game, like huge changed the game. You can talk to anybody in Montreal and they talk about like old school writers in Montreal that changed the game. Psych was one of them, from I think it was from Toulouse. This guy just came in, just bombed out everything, crazy style, lettering, everything was just different with this guy. He just totally supercharged the environment. In the 90s, there's these two guys, Case and Baser. Case, C-A-S-E, and Baser, B-A-C-E-R. These guys did the first roll, the rollers. These are the hangovers, like where you hang over the side of the building with the roller. And they're very basic rollers, just very basic. And some of them were still up. Actually, some of them, if you walk down St. Catharines, you can walk down and look up to the rooftops. And you're gonna see some old names up there. Okay. You'll probably still see a Case and a Baser up there. Okay. And they're really crude, but like that was completely new in Montreal. Nobody had done that. I don't know when it was must have been in the 90s. Namely Akira. He's old school. That guy's awesome. Akira is one of you talk about like people who set the bar for certain stuff, like, you've heard of like Henry Chalfant out of like New York. Henry Chalfant and, this guy, Akira. In 2003, when I was getting into it, it was kind of, there's a lot of action still going on. There's a lot of spots too, they're still covered with stuff going back 10 years. Like, it was insane. Like, there's tons of stuff you can find in the city. It's pretty crazy. I can say like names like Flow or Stack, Mersh. You know, there was like VC Crew, you know, guys like Bank and Castro and Sons, those guys. There's a fundamental aspect of property worship or appreciation of property in our society that leads people towards looking at graffiti and associating why you do that with some kind of disturbance, some kind of psychological, social disconnect this person must have. And that's why, I think that's why we find people who get insulted at public property or just private property. Never mind public, because public you can argue for the tax end of it, but private property. Someone's house gets defiled, whatever, it gets vandalized, right? And then people react to it very negatively, but it's not their property. And I asked them that, and it's always a question I got to ask them: if it's not your property, what upsets you? And it's really hard for people to articulate what it is that upsets them, besides that it's wrong. It's just wrong. You shouldn't do that. Somebody worked hard for that. You see a lot of, say, Monkey, Funky, Under Pressure, stuff like that too, where they talk to issues like racism, sexism, violence, war, corruption, policing, a number of things, okay? Environmental issues even, okay? And the awesome thing is, like, when you see a guy like Monkey or Funky and they're doing this big mural and it has like a historical figure in it and it talks to an issue, you know, and it doesn't generate money, but it generates community awareness, right? We become aware of social issues, right? Perhaps where we might not have before, right? Or historical figures that are connected to social issues, that are connected to things going on in our own communities. And by professionalizing, right, by making murals and into this politics of aesthetics where we say, I want something that looks good and makes my neighborhood look good, versus, you know, a historical figure or something about, you know, war on the other side of the world, whether it be Syria or Iraq or soldiers or negative policing or protest or austerity or whatever. They're not going to want to have that.
Don't you know?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know him personally.
Do you know his records?
Shit, but you know, I'm not about that kind of fella. That's them kids.